She went into the loft where we had both slept, and went into the side where her room had once been. There was a wall between the rooms, something my father had added when I got old enough to start middle school, and I hadn't actually been in her room in 20 years. Mom hadn't changed the things in here after she moved out either. It was still all band posters and a battered vanity with makeup stains and powder residue. My sister's bed sat across from the door, and as she pushed it aside, I saw that I hadn't been the only one with a hiding place. My sister pulled open the hatch, and I saw her take out some pictures, as well as a makeup palette and a tape. I hid it here after you left. It was a comfort to me when it was just Mom and I. I looked at the title on the videotape and was unsurprised to see that it was Ashley's Swing. Ashley's Swing was a show about a woman in her early 30s named Ashley. She would come out to a large swing that overlooked a cliff and swung back and forth as she talked to the audience about different problems or concerns of the day. I never really watched it. It was something that my sister had loved, but I had felt that I was a little too old for it. Ashley's Swing was in the same vein as shows like Mr. Rogers, and I was too old for that kind of kid stuff. I remembered that my sister had watched all the episodes several times, and it wasn't a huge surprise that she still had it. The show didn't even have a real intro. It was just a title card, and then a big shot of the swing as Ashley came into frame. She was on her swing, going back and forth, and that cliff face bloomed ahead of her like a dangerous animal. Her show was less of a show and more like something you'd see in an ad break. There were these little 5 to 8 minute slots that were probably played during other shows, and they were more musings and advice than anything else. She didn't even seem to notice that the camera was on her at first, looking at the distance as she went back and forth. When she finally looked back, she smiled and began what constituted as her show. We went downstairs and popped it in, my sister beaming as the familiar opening played, and we saw Ashley on her swing once again. Ashley's Swing, Episode 1. She smiled at the viewers, looking back at the chasm before saying, "Sometimes I think this cliff is a lot like some of my viewers at home. It's wide and vast and sometimes hard to understand. It's important that we remember that not everybody can be understood. Some people simply are, and we just have to accept them the way they are. I know you boys and girls will know what I'm talking about." There was a song break then about a bluebird and how it stayed happy, sung by Miss Ashley herself. It went on for a few minutes, but when it ended, she came back into frame and watched the cliff a little more as she swung back and forth. We have to be thankful for each and every day. Who knows when we might find that our days are not promised and our time has come at last. Remember that as you go about your day. Remember that and be grateful as you do. Until next time, I'll be here when you need me. There was no end credits, and there was no more of a song than there had been an intro. She just went right on swinging for a few more minutes, and then the episode was over. Ashley's Swing, Episode 2. The next episode began much the way the first one had, but today, Miss Ashley was swinging in the rain. The rain pattered down on her as she placidly went back and forth. And then she noticed the children there and smiled as if she had only been waiting for them to arrive. There's no sense letting a little rain spoil your day. Rain is just about the most natural thing there is. It feeds the crops, it feeds us, and it nourishes the heart and the soul. We should always remember that before we think less of the rain. Without the rain, how would we appreciate the rainbow? Then she sang "Rain, Rain, Go Away," which seemed a little bit against her message and detracted slightly from the appreciation for the rain. But it was hard to be too upset about it because Miss Ashley sang everything very prettily. After that, she went back to swinging, just looking out at the cliff, and I wondered why her swing was so close to that cliff face. Seemed like a dangerous place to put it, but when she finally looked back at the camera, she looked like she might have been crying. It was hard to tell. It was raining, after all. Her smile was just as radiant, but her eyes looked wet and a little red. Always remember, children, some rain must fall in every life. No one is immune to suffering. No one is immune to strife. We're all vessels for pain sometimes. But like a sudden rainstorm, a rainbow will come once such hardships are over. So don't give up hope on your rainbow. It could be just around the corner. Goodbye, children. I'll see you tomorrow. I paused the show and looked at my sister. I'd only seen the first episode of this, having been a little too old for this sort of show when we had gotten it. I don't know why, but I didn't much like the look of it. The way Miss Ashley kept looking out over that cliff made me more than a little worried about what might be in store down the line. Whoever was sending us these tapes, they never seemed to send us anything nice. It made me wonder again who this mysterious tape sender was, and why they had decided to send us such terrible things by mail. What is this show? My sister said nothing. Why do you want to watch it so badly after all these years? My sister said nothing. Answer me. If you want to know, then finish watching the show. It has all the answers you'll ever need. There wasn't much else to do after that, so I decided to watch the show. So many of these shows were like touchstones to a world that we had left behind. It was like a song you heard when you were a kid, and then never heard again. It was a smell, a sound, something you remembered for the rest of your life, but only in a fuzzy way that wouldn't make sense to anyone else who hadn't seen it. I suppose that's what my sister was after. But the longer we watched, the less sure of that I became. The longer we watched, the less I believed she knew what she was looking for. Ashley's Swing, Episode 3. It was a pleasant sunny day, and Miss Ashley was once again on her swing. She was going back and forth, and the sound of the ropes creaking was soothing somehow. It was like listening to a ship's sail as it caught the breeze in a high wind. It was like listening to the bindings on a rope swing. It was like listening to a body as it swung on a gibbet. Spring days always make me think of him. Where is he now? What is he doing? Where do people go when you can't see them anymore? It seems that something like that creates more questions than answers. Wouldn't you agree? I hope wherever he is, he's happy. I hope wherever he is, he doesn't miss me too badly. Then she sang a song about missing someone and the longing feeling that such a missing would bring about. She sang about finding them again further down the path, and when the song ended, we once again came back to find her crying. She wasn't smiling this time, though. She just swung back and forth and cried ceaselessly about whoever this person was that she was talking about. For some reason, I thought it might be a child, but it was just a guess. Her face had looked the way my mother's had sometimes, when my sister was away at someone's house, and she was worried about her. For nearly 6 minutes we watched as Miss Ashley cried and cried, and then the episode abruptly ended. Ashley's Swing, Episode 4. It was winter now, and the snow was thick on the ground. If it bothered Miss Ashley, she never showed it. It appeared that she would swing in any weather, and she was dressed in a snowsuit and thick black boots. She went back and forth, humming to herself before finally noticing the camera. She smiled and turned back to the cliff, and it was almost like the cliff was another character on the show. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but it's true. The cliff was her co-star, and she depended on its presence almost as much as it depended on her. On days like this, I like to bring a pot of hot tea with me and think about the people that mean so much to me. Some of them are gone. Some of them choose to stay away. But so many of them are still people that I think very highly of. People are like that sometimes. They go away because you're not the same person they knew. They go away because they find that the person you've become is not the person that they like. It's always hard when that happens, but we can't take it to heart. If we spend all our time wondering who we should be for this person to like us, then we never find the person that we could truly be. Remember that the next time you discover someone who you truly love. It's okay to love people, but don't hold them so close that your arms are empty when they're gone. Then she looked back out at the cliff, watching the snow come down, and she sang the most beautiful version of Silent Night I had ever heard in my entire life. It was chilling, and I wondered if she intended for it to sound so ethereal. She must have. There was no way she could have done it unintentionally. When her song ended, she went right on swinging as the snow came down, until she looked back at the camera and seemed to be ready with another bit of wisdom. During the holiday season, it's important to know what gifts you've been given by those around you. Just because it doesn't come in a box doesn't mean it isn't special. Sometimes the greatest gift of all is a gift we don't even realize. A gift that the gift giver doesn't even realize. Always remember to count your blessings, and always remember to be grateful for what you have while you have it. I wish sometimes I had been a little more grateful. She went back to swinging, and the episode abruptly ended, as it so often did. Something about watching that snow as it fell around her was incredibly sad. The whole show was incredibly sad, and it was a little like witnessing someone's slow and deliberate suicide note. I wasn't sure that I wanted to see the end of this, and every time she looked at that cliff, I became more and more sure of how this was all going to end. Ashley Swing, Episode 5. It was a summer day, and the valley below the cliff was a riot of wildflowers. You could see them everywhere, and they were lovely. I didn't think I had ever seen that many wildflowers in one place before. Miss Ashley must have been happy to see the flowers, too, because she kept right on swinging and looking at them, as the children at home were likely waiting to be noticed. She didn't notice them this time, though. She just kept right on swinging and looking at the flowers. It went on like that for quite some time, and I began to worry that this was going to be some kind of strange, unaired episode that only we were going to be privy to. The episode went on for almost 8 minutes, but it was the last 2 minutes that really mattered. 6 minutes in, Miss Ashley began to mumble, but it wasn't until there was a minute left in the episode that you could actually hear her. Looking at these flowers is like losing him all over again. I don't know why I come here. I don't know why I care. There's 30 seconds of silence after that, and then the episode abruptly ends. Ashley Swing, Episode 6. It's autumn, and there's a jack-o'-lantern sitting in her lap as she swings today. There's a name drawn on the front of the pumpkin, and I had to squint at it before I realized the name was David. It was a little weird, but I suppose maybe she had made the pumpkin for someone. She swung for a little while, but when she turned to look at us, she smiled and set the pumpkin down before beginning her work. Fall is a time of growing. It's a time when we harvest things, and we get our last harvest in before the winter comes and takes it from us. Sometimes people are the harvest for winter. I know that may sound silly, but people and vegetables aren't so very different if you think about it. A pumpkin can smile, and a pumpkin can die. A pumpkin can grow, and a baby can grow. When we lose a pumpkin, sometimes it's very sad. And when we lose a child, it's always very sad. Be sure, though, that you will reap what you sow. We all must take our harvest, whether it is sustenance or only bitter tears. Then she sang a version of Five Little Ducks that involved pumpkins, and once again I was pretty sure that she was crying, as she likely took a personal stake in the part of the mother pumpkin. When the song ended, she wiped her eyes and turned silently back to the camera, as if she had almost forgotten we were there. I know for some, fall is all about candy and ghosts, but sometimes the ghosts inside your heart are the scariest of them all. The candy you get from them is nothing but regret and sour memories. So be careful how much of it you eat. The sour stomach you get may be something you keep for the rest of your life. She turned back to the cliff and watched it as she swung again. That's how the episode ended. Ashley Swing, Episode 7. "This is the last one," my sister whispered. "It's one of my favorites." I wasn't sure if that made me more or less eager to see it, but either way I watched. Episode 7 began as they all began. Miss Ashley on her swing, as she went back and forth, just as she had done 1,000 times before. She was looking at the cliff again, her eyes eternally locked on that damn cliff. But she didn't look up this time. She was sitting by the cliffside in the early evening, and I began to wonder what the point of all this was. Why was she so close to the cliff's edge? Why was she recording here in the first place? It all seemed to make less and less sense the more I thought about it. Most of the episodes we watched had been about 8 minutes long, but this one lasted at least half an hour. She sat there and watched the sun go down as the swing creaked and ground as she went back and forth. It was getting dark on screen, her back still to us, as the ropes of the swing creaked and creaked. Then she stopped. She stopped and got up from the swing and walked towards the edge of the cliff. This was at the 11-minute mark. She stood on the side of the cliff for 2 or 3 minutes, just looking down into the mouth of that gaping chasm. At 14.5 minutes, she says something that I had no trouble making out, and it put the entire show into perspective. "I'm coming, David." She says it so low, she's almost whispering it. But the way she said it, with such agony and hurt, she might as well have been shouting it. Then she tilts forward and goes right over the edge and down into nothing. The camera keeps recording for about 30 seconds, and then the video abruptly stops. I turned back and looked at my sister as the snow began to fall on the screen. She was wearing a look of such profound peace that it was difficult to be upset with her for exposing me to this. Times had been pretty hard for her lately, and if this brought her some sort of joy, then I suppose it had been worth it. The longer we watched the screen, however, the more her smile began to slip. "I guess that's it." My sister said nothing, just continued to watch the screen. "That's the last episode, so I guess you got what you were after. You can take them and sell them now." She continued to say nothing. "I guess it's a shame that we tossed out the laughing place. You could have probably gotten a mint for that." "We didn't," she said, and her voice made me jump a little. "What do you mean? We threw it out into the snow the first time we watched it." "No, it's here. It's always been here." Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.